All right, everybody, we're going to tie a little crayfish today. This is the Burnt Back Craw. Start out with a 4660 Daiichi hook. We're going to start out by putting a little base of thread. We're going to be doing the orange version this morning. Just going to dress the shank of the hook. And we will go ahead and throw in a little bit of Buggerbou. This is an orange barred with brown stripes. I'm just going to put that in a little shorter than a shank length. This is a size 2 hook on here, but I do them in, I really just throw them in size 2s. You can throw them in bigger sizes or smaller sizes if you want. 2 is a good general size for this pattern. So we're just going to tie that down, make ourselves a little bit of a underbody here. And take some rubber legs. These are orange tipped root beer legs. I like to have a little bit of brown in my orange craws. We don't have that real bright orange craw around here. Okay, so I'm going to take those and I'm just going to tie them in at the halfway point. Capture those on this side and pull one this direction, wrap my thread up just a little bit, capture it on this side, pull it back over, and then bring it down so that I've got some claws and legs kind of hanging out the front there. And take a little bit of pine squirrel, and I've cut these into the length that I want for this size. And I'm just going to put 2 little pine squirrel claws, one on each side here. Okay. And then I'm going to take a little bit of thin skin or mottled skin or any type of those clear products. This is an orange and brown color. And I'm just going to make sure that that's sitting right on top. And centered on that point of the hook, so that when I pull that back over, and I'll just go ahead and check to make sure I don't have, so I do need to go just a little bit further on there. Just make sure that you don't have any of those thread wraps showing when you pull this back over, because you can't go back after this point. So just want to double check yourself, make sure that you're good to go. And pull that out of the way a little bit. Our body material is a combination of rubber legs and kind of a chenille. And this is UV Life Flex, and it's the Flex Wrap in a hot orange. And I'm just going to peel a little bit off and capture that core in there. And then I'm going to come up here to the front. We're going to make this the weighted version. I do these both weighted and unweighted. But what I'll do is I'll make a little thread base here, and I'm just going to take some medium-sized dumbbell eyes. And I can go ahead and secure those to the hook. And go ahead and wrap back and end up right behind those eyes. We'll take our Life Flex here. And I'm just going to kind of pull those back. I want it to be a little more dense towards the front. You can see all those legs and the profile that gives. And then I can kind of open it up a little bit at the back here. And I'm going to stop right behind those eyes. And I'm just going to give a couple wraps here. And then lock in those wraps. Okay, we'll cut that off. And I'm going to cut about half of that body small. So I'm cutting those legs off. I'm just making it a nice dense chenille at that point. And then on top, I'm just going to give a nice trim to the top here. What that does is it forces all the legs out to the side, allows me to make the top of this a little bit cleaner. Okay. And if you got any extras in there, you just want to get it nice and clean so that it comes out even. We'll take out this, this skin here. So you can see that I got a nice flat top on there. I got a nice bushy underbody. And then it tapers down to where the tail would be. Okay. I'm going to pull this back over, and I'm just going to take my finger and I'm going to push it right behind those dumbbell eyes and just give a couple loose wraps. Pull it a little bit tight and then cinch it down. You want to make sure that there's not a wrinkle in this when you're pulling this tight. And then I'm just going to throw a whip finish over the top there and cut that off. Okay, take our thin skin or skinny skin here and just clip that off there. Okay, and then we can trim our legs, and I usually trim them all the same length, and then I come in and I trim the interior ones just a little bit shorter. Okay, make sure everything looks nice and good before we go on to our final step here. But you can see that that makes a nice little crayfish profile in there. I've got some legs that'll kick, some nice rubber legs in there. Okay, I'm going to turn it upside down in the vise. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take a bodkin. I'm going to take that bodkin and I'm going to use a lighter to heat this up. And this is where it gets the kind of the name Burnt Back Craw. So I'm just going to take a lighter, get this nice and hot. And this is a little bit of a tricky process if you just got to get it under your hands a little bit. But I'm just going to make this nice and hot. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put little slits in the top here. Now the trick is the fact that you can't go all the way across, otherwise your thin skin will just flop over. But what you can do is put some slits that are kind of in the back of it, kind of has some ribs. Just don't go all the way through on both sides. That way you won't have to, you won't lose your thin skin. Okay, so then we'll take some thin UV on here, and that'll seep down in there. And what that does, it makes a really interesting effect that allows that color to kind of bleed through the thin skin that's a little bit brighter underneath, and gives you some extra segmentation and things in there. But it definitely makes an interesting look once it's done. Let it seep down in there a little bit. Go ahead and hit it with the light. Okay, and then we can come back in with that thin again and fill in any of those spots in there. All this is going to do is just magnify and highlight any of those areas. You can see it doesn't show up real great on the camera, but when that happens, you get some more orange stripes that come out of where you burnt that thin skin, and it kind of highlights that segmentation, gives you a nice mottled look on the top, and it's a great little bass, trout, and carp pattern. I put it out. I like it on that jig hook with the weights. Kind of gets it sitting up in there a little bit. But yeah, great little pattern. Tie some up. Great for this time of year. Enjoy.